to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And I'm especially happy because I'm looking forward to this conversation with Kerry Blaser, who's joining me today, just based on the conversation that we were having before we got started here. I mean, I can just tell this is going to be one of those really juicy conversations that, we'll be an hour into it, which is pretty much the time we have allocated. We're going to say, this isn't enough time, but we're going to have to find a way to make it enough time to get as much in as we can. So, Kerry, first of all, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm ready to have some fun. I'm ready to be happy and share and talk and laugh. Doing great.
I love it. Well, you fit in perfectly with the motif around here, as you could tell from the intro there. Yeah. But we need to know a little bit more about you. So give us like the short story of how you got to be who Kerry Blaser is today.
Well, I had a traumatic childhood, went to college, got degrees in Chinese and religious studies. Met an Israeli man in Tibet in 93, got married, had 3 kids, got a master's degree, got divorced. My life went really downhill, like tons of medication, migraines, everything. Mom passes away on my 45th birthday, and I'm called to heal. And so I'm 55 now. I just turned 55. And so my book that I'm here to share shares the basically the last 6 years, which were the most intense of my healing journey, and all the wisdom that I learned along the way.
And happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, Jody Lynn won't be joining us today because she's still celebrating her 40th, but she'll be back next week. So anyone who's wondering about that, she hasn't gone. She's coming back. We're looking forward to that. But that's, I mean, you summarized that very nicely in like 30 seconds or whatever that was. But oh my God.
There's a lot. There's a lot. I've had a life. I've had a lot. I have learned to surf the waves of life. And those waves included Mount Everest and Andrew Tate. So,
and not many people can put that in the same sentence. I'm
at home.
I mean, that's a combination right there.
But I mean, it aligns. It resonates. Like, you want to have an Andrew Tate in your life. That's kind of like climbing Mount Everest. I mean, that's pretty, unique. And
I would say, I mean,
he's part of my story.
Yeah, I would think, but it's also very cool. And but honestly, while that part is cool, I think the really cool part, is you went through a lot of stuff. You didn't give us a really clear idea of what happened in your childhood, but it was traumatic, so that's enough to know right there. You have all these other things that happen along the way, highs and lows, both. Yeah. But it's a lot, and I just know from my own experience and from all the different hundreds of people I've interviewed, the roller coaster, as I like to call it, it's harshest at the early stages. After a while, you feel like you can handle it better, and then it becomes a ride after a while. But at first, it's like, oh my God!
Yeah. The face, that you see, like I said, learn to surf the waves of life. I had a traumatic childhood because my parents did not know how to surf their own emotional waves. And that's what the waves of life are. And so they repressed everything, and I modeled their behavior like kids do.
Sure.
So, I mean, I grew up in a very affluent town, like 15 minutes from the Bachelor Mansion.
Oh my goodness.
So I was born in Arizona. Then my dad, who's an engineer, got a job in France and Switzerland. My maiden name is Swiss German. Blaser is my maiden name. My married name is Buzaglo. It's still my legal name.
Okay.
And then we came back when I was 5 and moved to Southern California. And so, but my parents got a divorce when I was 6. And so a lot of things happened, and I got a job at 14 that I had for 6 years, and, worked through college. And so I've just worked my whole life. And it's now I understand why. I finally understand why all that happened. And so because I understand, now I can share my wisdom with others. That's what I'm here to do today. Yeah.
I was just looking at my own video image. It's really, really dark. And I just asked myself why. And I realized, my lighting is all wrong. I've been messing around with the office here. So I'll have to fix that for the next show. But no big deal. But and I get what you're saying there. I mean, when I look at my own experience, the thing that got me doing this podcast, I started almost 13 years ago, was I got wiped out by the 2008 financial crisis. My business got wiped out. and
Mhm.
I had a real hard time coming back, and much harder than I would have expected. It sent us into a really bad economic spin. Plus, my ex, her business got wiped out too, so we lost our
Mm.
entire income within the space of a month, which was
Wow.
terrifying.
Yeah.
And after about 4 or 5 years of trying to recover and not getting anywhere and just going deeper in debt, that at that point you're questioning everything,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
and that's why I started the podcast, because the way I like to tell it is I couldn't afford to hire a coach. I couldn't even afford to buy a self-help book, but I figured I could afford to start a podcast. I could do
There
that
you go.
much. Yeah.
Okay. You
But
know,
having gone through that and come out the other side, I mean, it doesn't really matter so much what your story is. It's your story. It's what you go through. And there's really no comparison to one person to the next. I
mm.
mean, it's always fun to hear somebody else's
Yeah.
story, especially one like yours where all this wild stuff is going on. But when you actually are looking at what you experience going through your life, it doesn't really matter how it compares to anybody else's. It's yours. It's what you're experiencing. The reason it's traumatic is that it's traumatic for you. And
Yeah.
that's the most important piece. We forget about that part.
Oh, well, we forget that our souls plan our lives based on our wounds.
Mm.
So my life is specifically planned for me to have opportunities to see my wounds and then improve from there. And just like your soul plans your life based on your wounds so that you have opportunities to see the wound and go, oh, no, I don't like that about myself. Oh, I'm really hating myself there. Or I could do a lot better. I need to believe in myself more, and then there's your opportunity. And, they always say it's darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
And so would you like to hear about the physics experiment that I think about daily that helps me
Oh yeah.
understand why we have to learn to surf the waves of life? Okay.
I would love it. Yeah.
So in my book, I explain a lot of, I use laws of physics to explain shamanism and emotional healing, just so we all understand that what is spiritual is based on the laws of physics.
Okay.
So it's not like otherworldly, so to speak, it's 1 + 1 = 2.
It's not pure woo, is what you're saying.
It's not woo. I mean, there's woo out there, but I tried to ground what I thought was my woo and my feminine side, my right brain, which is my feminine, into my engineering left brain, like my dad, my brother, my ex-husband, like my uncle, all of them, my grandpa, all engineers, all this
Wow.
super
Oh my God.
logical, Swiss German left brain with this super intuitive right brain. That's my book.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, like that.
How'd
I
you
have brought it
survive
all
this?
together. So the physics experiment. Yeah, there's 2 balls,
Okay.
and they're identical weight, size, everything. There's 2 tracks, same distance. One goes slightly downhill, and one has hills and valleys. So the distance traveled on this track is technically longer. Which ball reaches the finish line first?
Ooh, that's such a tempting question.
Totally is.
Yeah, because you want to say, well, it's the first one. That one's going to get there first.
Is that what is that your answer?
Is that my answer? My answer is I don't know. Literally, I take the scientific viewpoint of I want to test it to find out. I don't presume to know the answer in advance.
Okay, so yes, and a lot of people go for this one, and I'll get to why in a minute, but it's actually the hills and valleys, because the ball has to start at the top. Obviously, you put the ball here, go uphill. Well, it's not, there's no momentum and propulsion. And, we're energy. And so physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies, our souls. And all of our energy bodies, because we can measure energy, right? We can measure the frequency that it's vibrating, are connected through our heart space. So our souls, who are constantly talking to all other souls and interacting based on, what frequency you're resonating at. Like if I need a lesson on forgiveness and then someone else needs a lesson on being forgived, then that could be a good match. Do you see what I mean? Because we're here to learn our lessons. We're here for self-improvement. Okay. So the ball starts at the top, but it needs the downward momentum to get to the next mountaintop. So if you can imagine, let's say Mount Everest helps me a lot. And I was there in 93 at the Mount Everest Base Camp. I didn't have it in me to get to the top. And why? How much of a valley of darkness does one need to go through? How much self-belief do you have to unearth, and self-confidence, and expand your lung capacity and be in shape and have the mental strength to face the 25% chance that you're going to die on the way up.
Wow.
That's quite a valley, right? To get to, but then you want that perspective, right? Like it would be amazing to land at the top of Mount Everest and go, oh, wow, there's that. And then the clouds and, but the ability to view the world from that perspective takes a huge valley of darkness that most people today are incapable of. Okay. So let's equate enlightenment with Mount Everest as just an analogy. So most people don't know that enlightenment is an emotion. And I learned that last year. And I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. Like I live in Chinese Buddhist monasteries. And, and from the University of California at Santa Barbara, like top-notch religious studies program, like, and no one told me, okay? But that was my soul's journey. Like we even talked about me working with the nuns that I had met to learn the wisdom from them. I'm like, because no one taught me that the wisdom in their heart was also in my own heart. And that's what I spent almost 30 years figuring out, because I graduated my master's degree in 97. The same month I got pregnant with my son. And then I was having my kids. I needed to dive into my feminine pain to understand enlightenment for myself. And then the reason I was like needing to understand it more, the first reason is I needed to explain to my kids. So it wasn't about anybody else but me and then my family. And now it's community. But that also is a reflection of something in my book I call the love hierarchy. I had to learn to love myself first and learn to fill up my own cup of love and how that works. And so that I could have overflow extra love to share with others, because most people do not have a healthy cup of love in their heart. Most people are sharing a lot of negativity, a lot of self-hate, lack of self, and then blaming other people for their problems. They're projecting projecting the selfish, and then blaming the other person and holding them responsible to their own selfishness because they don't understand the process. So, okay, that's fine. Like most people don't understand, but okay, so we're here to learn. So this is how it works. Okay, so our souls are energy bodies. So again, we're going to rely on the laws of physics. Okay. And there's these prongs in that vibrate at a certain hertz. Like you could have one metal prong that vibrates at 400 hertz, and then one metal prong that vibrates at 500 hertz. When the 500 hertz moves, this one doesn't interpret anything because they're vibrating at different frequencies. So they don't see each other. Okay. So the women who are like, where are all the good men? Well, the good men are vibrating up here because you're vibrating down here, and so you don't see them. So all you interact with, all that you perceive, because when they're both 400 hertz, you move this one, the other one moves. So then that's what you perceive and you pick up on, and that pulls your attention. That can trigger you, can make you happy, that triggers your soul's connection. It triggers the emotions in your soul, because our soul's the energy bodies. What?
It also explains when you're in that lower vibrational state, male or female, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But when you're in that lower vibrational state, it's why the opposite sex, if you're an opposite sex person, the opposite sex all seems to be the bad guys because they're in the same vibrational space.
Exactly. That's what it seems like, but we haven't taught people this. Like most people don't know that the universe is a mirror, and every interaction is to show you the wounds inside yourself. So what the soul is trying to show you when you see someone that's selfish is your own selfishness, because your selfishness is coming up, is noticing that selfishness, because you're both 400 hertz prongs, right? You know what I mean? And so that moves and then you move. Like I could see a movie and you could see the same movie, and what I learn is different from what you learn, both equally valid. And that's why you can't compare. You can't compare your journey to my journey. Oh, well, why you've been in therapy for 10 years. Why aren't you better? Oh, are you me? Like what? And my kids do that all the time. Like, stop comparing. Stop comparing. She's not there yet. Oh, because her soul doesn't know. Her soul's a microcosm of the macrocosm of the whole universe. Stop thinking that what your brain sees or what you're seeing, like tell my older daughter this all the time, what you think you see is why she's experiencing that. Look, you're projecting. The universe is a mirror. It's a mirror. So if we could, that's the second piece of wisdom I love to share. The 2-ball experiment. We're designed to learn how to surf the waves of life and expand our emotional range. And enlightenment is an emotion. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a book by Dr. David R. Hawkins, Letting Go. He also wrote Power versus Force. And in Power versus Force, he has a whole chart of the emotions, because physicists have measured, so, shame, guilt, fear, anger, it's all below 100 hertz, the lower vibrating emotions. The higher vibrating emotions, love is 200 hertz, compassion is 400 hertz, enlightenment is 700 hertz and above. Now, the physical body can't just jump from 200 hertz to 700 hertz and not have a heart attack. That's why you got to learn a little. That's why it's gradual. The expansion of the emotional range happens over lifetimes, so that our bodies can keep up. So our bodies aren't ready for everyone to walk around at 1,000 hertz all day long, all enlightened at the top of Mount Everest, because we haven't done the work yet. Our bodies, we got to go at the pace that our physiological bodies can go. So it's like a balancing act between our souls wanting to be, incarnate and show who we truly are, which is the higher vibrating emotions, the light being, and really accept that those lower vibrating emotions are not real, that they're here so we can see ourselves. Like, you only know what tall is because you know what short is. So you only know what the higher vibrating emotions are and what you need to do to be there most of the time, only when you experience the lower vibrating emotions. So this is where the dual nature of reality and accepting that men and women are here to support each other, not compete against each other. Femininity doesn't, when you have a healthy feminine lane, then that creates a healthy masculine lane. And when you both stay in your own lanes, then you're in business. But when you're fighting over whose lane is what lane, and you're not getting anywhere. And this is where we're at right now.
Interesting. This is a very interesting viewpoint you're bringing. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Really do.
I have spent a lot of time, 10 years.
I understand. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really liking it. A few thoughts are coming to my mind. First of all, when you were talking about the different vibrational layers, I'm not sure if you were actually naming genuine hertz values, but you were basically naming doubled values. And in the range of sound, particularly music, doubled values are octaves.
Oh, I see. Those are a lot of things I don't know, but sound, that's why sound healing is so powerful, because it helps us change the vibration of our soul. So it helps us kind of unearth those lower vibrating emotions we have inside of ourselves, because our heart is constantly projecting who we are to find who's a good match that we can improve. Okay. So we're whatever's in our soul, whether you got a healthy cup of love or a cup of love that has a lot of self-hate, it goes out so that we can get that mirrored and, to go, oh, that's in me, and oh, that's in me. But most people don't understand the universe is a mirror. We all think what we're looking at in society is what everybody sees. Well, everybody sees that plant. Everybody sees that, but not when it comes to evaluating a situation and why we attract certain experiences and people into our lives. That's all.
One of the most fascinating things is how we humans have this tremendous capability of believing that we know exactly what somebody else is thinking about us, when we're wrong, 99.99% of the time.
There's the projection, though. We project our emotions. Our emotions are about ourselves. So we think, oh, I hate that guy. You just said you hate yourself. Here's an example. When I was in high school, okay, and this has been happening my whole life, I trigger people because my vibration is so kind of expansive. So he was popular, and I'm in this group, and he walks up. He's like, I don't like you. I'm like, you never even talked to me. You don't even know me. And I cursed at him. But I don't even like you. That's what was happening in our souls. He hated himself in a way that I hated myself. And that's why our souls, kind of banged into each other like that, was to show us both that we have parts of us that we hate. And I mean, if I hate myself and I'm with myself all day long, why should anybody think that I'm wrong? You spent 55 years with yourself. If that's the way you feel, I'm going to believe you,
That's exactly what happens. Well, one of my favorite things to talk about is how we as human beings, and this is something, by the way, that I thought I was the only one who did this. It was a kind of a shock when I discovered that everybody does it. But that we human beings are tougher on ourselves than we are on anybody else in our lives, to massive extremes. And my favorite phrase to describe it is, if we treated our friends the way we treat ourselves, we wouldn't have any friends.
I got an example of that in my book.
Oh, okay.
My husband. Yeah. And I think that women particularly have a lot of challenge with this. Not men do too, but women, because we're the communicative ones. We communicate and then men act. Women submit, men decide. It's healthy femininity and masculinity in general. Of course, men communicate, and of course, women act. But
Sure.
like chivalry, that's a man showing his emotions for a woman. I respect you. I will open the door for you.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to talk to show his emotions. This is where women misunderstand men. Men act their emotions more than they talk their emotions. Women talk our emotions more than we act our emotions, and there's the
Ooh,
counterbalance.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And so you have a lot of women in psychology, right, telling men they need to sit down and talk all day long. Well, how many male, lumberjacks have mental illness? That man's getting his acting all day long. Oh, I'm mad. Get it out. Let it go. And men are designed to let go of their emotions for. Men's nervous systems are more fragile than the female nervous
yes
system.
and no. Yes and no, because men are also really good at pushing the emotions down and just stuffing them there and keeping them there in the ideal of being the ideal masculine. Like, I don't show my emotions. That's expected. That's something that society, females, that's expected.
But this is the thing. A healthy masculine man isn't repressing his emotions. He's showing his emotions through action. Now, I'm going to go work all day long for the family because I love the family.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're going to be happy and sad and angry. So it's like a different way of showing emotion that comes out of masculinity that I've learned. It's not that, of course, they experience happiness and whatnot, but men's nervous systems are more fragile. Women are designed for the deep, dark emotional work, and that's why we start experiencing more negative emotions in puberty, 75% more negative emotions than men, and that's why women suffer from 80% of the autoimmune diseases, because it's a nervous system fragility, imbalance that is being shown through the autoimmune disease. So men have a more fragile nervous system, and that's shown because we have a higher infant male mortality rate than women. And women are designed to be the emotional center, to do the emotional work. Like, we are connected to source energy. We channel life. We channel birth. So we got to be connected to bring that soul through into the human body and then give birth to it. And men are once removed. And then there's the opposite. Men take on more risk by being once removed from source. So you ask men, do you need women? Yes, because they need access to source energy. But now, with women being entitled and modern and women making their own money, do you need men? No, I don't need men. What? Well, okay, women are source energy. So in one way, they have that extra support from the universe that men have taken on the risk of not having. And there's just a lot about the feminine and the masculine that I've learned because I sat at home and talked to souls and analyzed all this stuff for the past 10 years. I haven't been on a date in 6 years, even though I've attracted all these men into my life. Like, the first one was a chess champion. Second one was Justin Waller, Andrew Tate's best friend, 2 months before Andrew's takedown started. And then that lasted till about September of 2022. And then I started interacting with my first fire academy instructor. And then there was another one. And that all led me back to my guy from my childhood, who is a former FBI assistant special agent in charge and is currently the head of global security at a major international company that handles the internet.
Wow.
And I didn't believe in myself.
That last statement is astonishing in light of the rest of it.
Well, right. That's why I said it. Like, okay, so this guy, my guy, I call him Jared in the book. Okay, hot, right? Like, ASB president, dad is wealthy. Obviously, the way he dresses well, they totally put together, Boy Scout, multiple sport, varsity letterman, super good looking. But when he approached me, I wouldn't let him talk to me. I wouldn't let him talk to me. And I think we were in elementary school together. My memory is terrible, but I went to one elementary school before my parents got a divorce, and he lived right next to that elementary school. So I think something happened there between us. It would make sense if it did, because I've had a hard time connecting. I just rejected myself my whole life. Wow. And he's, from what my perspective is, the masculine soul, the counterbalance to my feminine soul. Like, we've been mirroring each other my whole life. He got his current job 1 month before I reached out to Justin. And Andrew got censored on the internet.
Uh-huh.
And the FBI does internet censorship, and he's head of global security at a major company that deals with the internet. That's a lot of synchronicities, is all I'm saying. That's a lot of And who's powerful enough to, cancel Andrew Tate on social media, take away his payment processing center, and ultimately throw him in solitary confinement? Is Andrew guilty or not? I don't know. It's not my job. I'm not judge or jury, but I'm just saying, like, it was a lot of accepting for me. And I had his picture in my phone, Jared, to remind me. I'm like, oh, these guys, like, really? Because I didn't believe in myself. So I had that guy super into me. He even, the most popular senior at a high school with 2,000 kids, tried to introduce me to Jared. And I'm like, I said, what are you punking me? He's not, like, where's the camera? And I just ran away, right? I'm just done. Like a week later, he let another freshman bring a picnic, and he had a picnic in front of me. Okay. So here I am, solid no. And he's like, I'm super into you. Oh no, her. So he's the one in his emotions moving around, right? And I'm the rock. I was so busy protecting myself at home that I was super in my masculine, right? Because I couldn't even, I didn't know how to like talk to him. I'm like, no, I just fear, and I had no idea what to do. And then here he is showing his emotions. That's the feminine. But that shows how our wounds are showing us ourselves. I wasn't safe around him. If he was like that emotional, I saw him jumping on people and just being like a spaz. He was a spaz, I'll just say. I have like, pictures in the yearbook. I'm like, oh yeah, spaz, you're a spaz. That wouldn't have been safe for either of us. I mean, he went on to go to a military academy and get an MBA, and if we had an interaction because he lacked physical control due to his childhood and I lacked emotional control due to my childhood, that would have been, very dangerous for both of us. Very dangerous.
Dangerous how, though?
He lacks physical control and I lack emotional control.
Okay. All right.
You see what I'm saying? So this is where both sides need to take responsibility for abuse. That's one of my main messages. What people think is, oh, these top tier men, they have multiple women, they're the problem. Well, no, the problem is we have wounds. Like I had a wound that I only found with the fire captain who was the second firefighter. And the day after we started talking, his soul showed me a wound in me that I had, that I'm replaceable. Well, the universe is a mirror, right? So if I have a wound that I'm replaceable by men, how is my soul going to show me that wound? Oh, men who have multiple women. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is where part of me was vibrating those lower emotions, and so were his, and that's where we're seeing each other. So I saw an interview about a really rich guy, like, someone Andrew Tate type, really rich, multiple women, right? And they asked him, is your wife replaceable or is your money replaceable? You want to guess what he said?
I don't dare.
My wife is, wife's replaceable. I can another one have kids and stay at home and cook food. Money's not replaceable.
Wow.
And our souls are internal, and that's the human, not the money, right? Yeah. But that's the exact kind of guy who would be the perfect counterbalance to show me my wound. So we could think he's the asshole, but I don't love myself. And the fire captain turned out to be married.
Oh my God.
And part of the reason I attracted him into my life is so I would reflect on my marriage, which was really hard. Like I hadn't accepted that my inability to stay in my feminine lane, my ability to forgive and have compassion and be nurturing and be submissive was half the reason my marriage fell apart. I have to take responsibility for that. And women, because we're vocal, we're used to like talking about our problems and like, women create and then men orchestrate, women like create the need for a house by having kids, or getting married. So the women are used to kind of communicating like that. We're not used to being like, oh, we're the problem, but things are so bad that we're the problem. And you have a lot of women saying, well, men started all the wars. Oh, so are you saying that those men are emotionally imbalanced? Well, yeah, because they're starting all those wars. Oh, well, who's responsible for emotional intimacy? Who's responsible for the relation to self? And that's the mother. The mother teaches the child, compassion and nurturing and forgiveness and that kind of emotional intimacy, where the dad teaches the child how to interact with other people, starting with the mom. Dad does the outside, mom does the inside. So you see, like, I understand there's been a patriarchy, but women also have not understood their role of emotional intimacy and the relationship with self. And that's, we both, women and men, are equally responsible for arriving at today and where we're at. That's, from my opinion.
This is a very interesting presentation you're making here for a number of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where I want to go with it is I understand what I'll call the archetypes that you're describing there. But I also think there's no such thing as a pure archetype, because everybody has pieces of stuff going on. It's not like I am a pure, I am a male, or I am a female. It's not, yes, we have males, we have females, but it's never that clear cut, because there's always some overlap going on.
Well, like if you look at the Tao symbol, you have half that's white with a portion of black, and then half that's black with a portion of white. That's called balance. Mm-hmm. So men need 10 to 20 times as much testosterone as women. Well, how do you create testosterone? Left brain thoughts and ideas and actions. Well, women need 10 to 20 times as many feminine hormones as men. And how do you create that? Well, right-brained emotions. So when the woman doesn't spend her time with forgiveness, compassion, nurturing, intuition, creativity, creating, then she's not emotionally balanced. And that's, hormonally balanced, because our what we do and think is what drives our body and our hormones. And I think a lot of people aren't putting those two things together. You want to create a masculine woman, that's cool. She's going to be out of hormonal balance, and we're 20 years from population collapse. Not only because people don't want kids, but people can't get pregnant because they're so out of hormonal balance. You want to tell a girl that she's just like a boy and that she needs to go out and get a college degree and have tons of sex and sow her wild oats and get a job in her 20s and maybe marry in her 30s? Okay, well, what's going to happen is about her fifth sexual partner, she's going to stop producing oxytocin. She's going to stop bonding during sex. And then what's also going to happen is there's so much sharing of physical, our microbiome, which is our intestinal tract, and that's where most of our mental health is from, and the energetic exchanges of the wounds. And she's going to, have all this trauma. And now you want to make that woman a mother when she can't bond as a mother and a wife. That's what we're creating? Because that's what we're creating right now. And we had to figure it out. We created it, and then we did all the research on it, and now we can see, that women are messed up, but so are men. We're getting it back together, but we have to accept that we all got here together. If we want to change women's hormones and give them birth control pill, then we also have to accept that women don't ovulate, which is one of the main producers of testosterone in men. Okay.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
Or if you want to teach women it's okay to get an abortion, you also need to teach them that those baby cells and all that emotional pain that you're going to pick up and keep in you is going to remain for the rest of your life. Or the woman that gets divorced, like my situation, okay? I have my ex-husband's cells, and so I feel all of his emotional pain because they have tons of studies. It doesn't matter how far apart we are. I have his cells in my body. When he has anxiety, I feel it. He's not financially supporting me. And I got 3 kids, same thing. I've only been pregnant 3 times. I have 3 kids. Do you see what I'm saying? There's so much we didn't know. And there's so many ways. We were right. The patriarchy just destroyed everything. If women just take over, the future is feminine. We're fine. Just shut the fuck up. That's so fucking did you think before you said the future is feminine? And granted, I may have been agreeable to that when I was super liberal and easy to emotionally manipulate, which a lot of women are. When we have a lot of emotional pain, we're very easy to manipulate because we have very little self-awareness. And that's why the left goes to, well, you don't want to take away your abortion, right? And then immigration, you want to be mean to people, right? Well, that's all to emotionally manipulate women. That's all it is.
So what do you say to women who complain about how the physical world ends up essentially feeding them such large levels of estrogen that it practically ruins their bodies? Women? Yeah.
You have to give me an example. I don't know what you mean. So much.
A lot of women with weight issues.
That's cortisol.
What's that?
So that's the stomach. That's the cortisol. So when your body's out of balance, that means you have emotional pain you haven't addressed. That's all it means. Your body is also mirroring your wounds back to you. If you have cancer means toxins in the body. So, and they've done tons of studies now that when people have cancer, they're people pleasers. They don't take care of themselves. They're working from what I call an inverted love hierarchy. Community first, me last. Well, when community comes first, you're pouring and pouring and pouring, and there's nothing left to pour from. So then you're pouring from an empty cup. And that's the lack, that's the negativity, that's the judgment and the criticism and the projecting my crap on other people and then holding them accountable to it. And I'm going to get back to something you said earlier about how we treat ourselves way worse than we treat other people. So 6 years ago, I attempted suicide. And that's really the start of my book. And my ex-husband, when I was talking to him when I was in the psych ward, after I had to go to the hospital and I was intubated for a couple of days, and then I went to a psych ward for 5 days, he told me I deserved to be punished because my youngest daughter had an eating disorder at that time, and the reason I attempted suicide is like it was like the last straw. Like I felt like I already lost the other 2 kids, and then I went to this one. She was 16 at a residential facility for an eating disorder, and she blamed me for her eating disorder. And the therapist and her dad got on board. And I was trying to explain, like, look, this is a family dynamic. We all have generational trauma. We're all here. It isn't just Kerry, my mom's fault, you know? But that's what I was fighting. So when I went home, I didn't have a strong enough boundary with myself, and I internalized everyone's negativity about me. Now I needed it to see myself. Okay. So people need to take responsibility. Like if I hadn't internalized their negativity, I never would have attempted suicide. But because I internalized their negativity, and that was like in me to do it, I have to see myself. I went home and my brain told me, my kids, we'd be better off with a dead mother than a live one. So I went and took all my medications, and that was it. And again, I attempted suicide. So I hated myself that much. But he said I should be punished. Do you know how many people what an asshole he is. He said I should be punished. He's the jerk. He's a jerk. Never once taking accountability that I had tried to kill myself, that I thought I deserved the death penalty for poor parenting. He just said punishment. Only when I was writing the book, and I think I put it in the book, did I fully take accountability for that. That's where the writing process was so powerful, because it was my rule. I'm like, I can let everything out, but at the end of the day, I take responsibility for my crap, and I do not disparage the 6 men that are in this book, because they showed up in my life from a soul perspective to mirror my wounds back to me. Was it hard? Yeah. Did I cry? Yeah. Was I pissed off? Yeah. Did they pay me? No, because I needed those lessons more than I needed to be paid. So
some people would say that that's actually a fairly harsh way to live.
How is that a harsh way to live?
Basically, by showing yourself a series of mirrors the way you're describing there, that is a creation of a sequence of events that most people would consider to be a harsh sequence of events.
Okay, right, but we need the valleys to get to the next mountaintop. You see what the 2-ball experiment is really useful? Yeah, it's gnarly. But for me to have an opportunity to experience enlightenment like 10 times last year, like I did, I had to go through all of that to get to enlightenment. Just like if you want to get to the top of Mount Everest, how much do you have to go through? Harsh, harsh, harsh. So it just depends. What are you after? If you're
I think that's a good question right there. What are you after? Yeah. I think that's the heart and root of it. And I think it's a question that a lot of people don't really know their answers to.
Yeah. Right.
So one of the things that's going to come out of that is, let's say, I mean, you are talking about how you desire to climb your Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And what is a Mount Everest can be different from one person to the next.
Yes.
But by the same token, the Mount Everest is like that's like the ultimate challenge that you're facing, whatever that ultimate thing is. The question that's in my mind is it always important to go after the ultimate challenge?
Well, it just depends what your soul's plan is. So this is the thing. My brain didn't decide that I needed Andrew Tate in my life. That's a harsh existence right there. You want to know my kids, when I told them that I helped Andrew Tate, because I live in California, right? Liberal. Like first time I voted Republican was last fall. Okay. For a year and a half, they hated me over that. I'm like, well, isn't a more emotionally, and I waited a year to tell them that I did it. Okay.
Well, with
Because I
that in
had
this
to,
climate, that's going to make no difference at all.
but I had to be ready to stand up for myself, like just to go, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I did that. Like, whoa, wait, what? And then solitary confinement, right? So they hated me for like a year and a half, but I'm like, well, isn't a more emotionally balanced Andrew Tate, you know, better for everyone? Well, yeah, but aren't we all in this together? Aren't we all trying to increase our vibration? Like, this is the thing. Yes, it's hard, but that's why we come. We don't come for this easy, because I think people go for the easy because they had a traumatic childhood and they don't understand that they're here to learn to surf the waves of life. That's why
Well, I
we're
mean,
here.
you talked about what the plan is, and
Yeah.
I have to admit, that's something I've always kind of I've been
Mm,
on the fence about. Do
mm,
do I come here with a plan? Was the plan set by me? Was it set by God? Was it, all those kinds of questions? I'm kind of on the fence about them.
mm.
One reason I'm on the fence about them is I think back to some of the things I've experienced, and I say to myself, well, if that was my plan, what the hell was I thinking?
Right. Well, that's the point. Right. Like, so here's the thing. My soul has a plan. Like in my book, I show so many synchronicities. Like the first guy, Tim, we met at yoga. 5 months after I started talking, got in a huge fight. He told me, never talk to me again. Never talk. I'm
Hmm.
like, okay. It was upsetting, but I'm healing myself. And then almost exactly a week later, I went on a drive, and he lived at a very remote, very affluent location. And I didn't know where he lived. And so I went for a drive, and I would turn around right where his gate is. But I didn't know it was his gate. And it takes me like 4 or 5 seconds to get off the freeway and go right back on. It's right on the ocean here, in Southern California. Okay.
Hmm.
So I go for a drive, no idea what's going on. And, there's stoplights and everything, right? And I get off the freeway and I pull up to get on the freeway. And right at that moment, his car and him arrive at the gate.
Oh, geez.
And that's just one, like that's proof, like all of our souls are constantly talking. I mean, that's how you
Mhm.
explain psychic gifts, right? Like there's irrefutable evidence that dogs know things, right? Like you see
Oh, yeah.
millions of dog videos, they get super excited 1 to 2 minutes before their owner gets home. How do
Oh,
they
yeah.
know that? Right?
Yeah.
Bears, they're up a tree a day before the Cat 5 hurricane arrives, where
Mhm.
humans are still in our houses next to the ocean going, bring it, like morons. So they listen to
Like,
themselves, I'm sorry, we have to accept that we're souls having a human experience because we have the physical evidence now, our souls are constantly talking. What do you think? They're just shooting, hey, how's your corona? They're not like, they're getting shit done. Souls get shit done. So it's like,
actually,
yeah,
you're touching on something else I really want to ask you about. I want to know what your
yeah, yeah,
perspective is.
yeah.
I've tried to figure out, and you're claiming a scientific basis here. So I've tried to figure out what is the scientific explanation for this communication. That I agree, we all do have this communication.
Yeah.
The best theory I've been able to come up with is that we all have this energetic flow around us, and that flow is where the connection's happening. But beyond that, I don't have a clear idea. Do you have a clear idea?
Well, I mean, we all have energy bodies, and then we all connected through our heart space because physicists have measured this. So, in the 2022 Nobel Peace Prize on quantum entanglements, explains how souls just connect to each other no matter where the physical body is located, no matter where they're located in the universe. And
So you're saying quantum entanglement is at the root of it.
yeah, because quanta are the smallest pieces, particles in the universe. So they can create an entanglement and communicate instantaneously no matter where they are. And impact because they resonate like the two. So when I hit this, everything else in the universe that resonates at that exact frequency will also be felt. We'll feel it.
Okay,
So we're
so
all in
quantum
it together.
entanglement is at the root of what you're saying, and that
Yeah.
I have to admit, I've leaned on that one too. I can't say I totally grasp quantum entanglement.
Right.
I'm kind of in the Niels Bohr camp that says that if you think you understand quantum physics, then you don't understand quantum physics.
Right.
And I buy totally into what he's saying there, because the more I dive in, we'll put it this way: my co-host Joel Elston says I'll talk about anything except quantum physics. My head can't handle it.
It's a lot to accept. I mean, it's a lot to accept. Like, so
Einstein couldn't have accepted. He was basically one of the fathers of it. He couldn't accept it.
Right. So you understand how accepting that we're a soul having a human experience. I mean, people have been talking about this since forever. But now we have the science to balance out the spiritual, the logic with the feeling. We finally can prove it. And so it's like, it's time to get on board. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what my book does is basically take you through the process that I went through, where I unearthed all this wisdom, because the wisdom stored inside the wound. That's why you have to go into the valley, because that's how you get access to the wisdom. And here's an example. So that big fight I had with Tim, 2 weeks after the fight started, I mean, that fight, I had to give myself permission to rest. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Like, I need to just lay here and rest. But I hadn't given myself permission to rest, which most people don't, because we're not, do more, Kerry, more. You're not enough, Kerry. And if I hate myself, then I'm not enough. Do you see? When it comes from the heart, because our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality and how we feel about ourselves, right? Like if I'm noticing selfish people everywhere, then I think, why is everybody an asshole? Oh, I'm there too, I was just saying in Hebrew, if you run into 3 assholes, then you're the asshole. The Jews know a thing or two. They've been around the block with, trauma and challenge, and they remember it too. And my last name, Buzaglo, okay?
Yeah.
And what does Buzaglo mean? Buzaglo is the Jews were exiled from Spain in 1492, and they took on this last name to remember the event of being exiled and humiliated. I'm not laughing at the event, but that's what. Let's remember how we treat each other, and let's remember not to do that.
I was always intrigued by the things that Jews would choose to remember, and that would be one of them. Like, okay, that's really going to be your thing. You're going to remember that, but they do, and there is some credit to that too.
And they're a strong community. I mean, look at what they've been up against recently. I mean, my youngest daughter is yelling at her dad, who's super knowledgeable about Middle Eastern history, right? He's in support of Palestine and Iran. I'm like, oh, because she and I are taking a break right now. I'm like, well, a rejection is spiritual protection. Because she knows, you talking to me, I wouldn't tolerate that crap. You're going to tell your father, okay, this is she doesn't understand her feminine lane, because she's being taught to go be a social activist, which disrupts the whole system and keeps us out of balance. So, because change is an inside job. Like, our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality. And I'll give you an annotated example in a second. But God, now I forgot where I was going. She knows, but she knows, like, if I were there, I would never allow her to talk to her father like that. But because I was irreverent, I didn't respect boundaries, and I didn't respect authority, because I wasn't respected as a child. So my lack of respect means I'm projecting lack of respect out onto the quantum field. And that's what comes back to me. She's learning all of those lessons. And so, but anyway, I forgot.
Well, I'll tell you something, and this is perhaps a little bit of contrast to what you're saying there. I have very definite issues with the whole concept of authority. Not just having trouble with authority. I do have that too, but I have trouble with the concept of authority. I actually believe that the idea of authority is a false mask. I think it's actually quite misrepresentative. What's just the word? One of those is a word in there, but whichever word it is, it's missing that. And the reason that it's missing is that when you look at the word authority, where it comes from author. So if you author something, the claim is that makes you an authority. And my response to that is, who said? Right. Where did the authority for calling that, making you an authority, come from? Well, I think I look at results. It illustrates. I call it the arrogance of the human condition, believing that authority is a good thing. Authority is a mask. Authority is basically saying, I'm not going to rely on what I know. I'm going to rely on my credential. Does it? I mean, like, so I'm an author. Do I speak with authority? I am too. I'm an author 3 times. Right, but I'm just saying, like, have I brought things to light that are true? Sure. Okay, that makes me an authority then. Why is that bad? It's only bad if we make that the basis for whether or not we're going to follow a particular path. What do you mean? It's not bad if you want to understand what a person's what their growth path has been, what their development has been. But if you're going to use authority based on the idea that, well, this person is an authority, so we have to follow what the author says. That's where
Oh,
I draw the line.
okay. I hear what you're saying, but it's like it feels like you're speaking from a wound, so it's not totally clear. So
Okay.
and so like here's the thing, like we need authority in society to maintain rules and structure because not everybody's going to obey. I mean, we just all know that. So like the police
I
are
don't
an
buy into
authority.
that. I think that's actually wrong.
You think it's wrong? So
Yeah.
okay, so this is the thing. So like when we let all the illegal immigrants into the country and they're killing people because we didn't have a boundary and we didn't have authority over our own country, is that something that you just want to let run rampant? Is that the
I
kind of
actually
country you
believe
want to live
I believe
in?
that's actually misrepresenting what's going on.
Oh, so the mothers who are crying in Congress that their daughters have been killed by MS-13 people, they're what, lying? I don't understand.
No, I'm saying that it's true that there are mothers whose kids have been killed by MS-13 people, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that all immigrants are MS-13.
Well, no, but we're not talking. Okay,
But nevertheless, the line gets drawn that way.
well, I mean, you might be seeing the line drawn. That's what the liberal
Well,
media is
no, the
telling
line is
you.
being drawn that way. I mean, that's
But
pretty clear.
no, I mean that's clear. That's your reality that you're seeing
Oh,
based on your
okay.
wounds. So the reality I'm seeing based on my constitution, because we talk like we're both watching the same movie and having a different result. But this is a good conversation because a lot of
Mhm,
people are in this exact situation, right?
mhm.
So the reality that I'm seeing is lack of healthy boundaries with self. Like most people, when you ask them who support the illegal immigrants, when you ask them, well, why don't you have some illegal? And I'm only talking about illegal immigrants. I'm not talking about legal people who came in the legal way, only what people call undocumented or illegal aliens or immigrants. Okay. Oh, so you want to let them in the country? So why don't you have them in your house? Oh, no, not in my house. Well, our country is our house. And when we prioritize other people and we don't fill up our own cup of love first, like how many men in this country can't get a manufacturing job? How many jobs have we shipped
And I
overseas
don't buy
because
into I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I really do think that's bullshit. And here's why I think it's bullshit.
okay.
Because it's blaming the immigrants for the guy not getting the job.
No, but that's not. No, I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out the multiple ways we're not loving ourselves first. Like
Well,
the
yeah,
men
I
at
agree with
home,
that.
okay, we don't love ourselves first. Okay, so and all the Medicaid money that's getting put into illegal immigrants in schools, in Medicaid, and all these other areas, and we have homeless people. I mean, our own children can't read and write at grade level. I mean, it's just like
Yeah,
30% of
that's
it's
the scarcity
terrible.
argument.
We
That's
have
the scarcity argument. The
How is that a
scarcity argument
scarcity argument when kids
because
can't read and write?
well, let me tell you, it's
Okay.
a scarcity argument if only there's only a certain amount to go around. So we have to choose: is it going to be this group or is it going to be that group? That's a scarcity argument.
Why is it a scare? But who's your group?
Well, you just
Is your
defined the
group
group. I was going with the group that
Americans
you named.
or is your group illegal immigrants? Because if we
But that's
only
the
spend
point.
money,
Those are the groups that you're dividing right there.
right,
That's your division
right.
right there.
Why are Americans responsible for educating illegal immigrants and spending money on their health care when we don't have enough money for our own? We don't.
That question comes specifically
Hmm.
from a belief in a scarcity of resources.
No, how does it but this is the thing. It's not scarcity, it's you believe you're entitled to all these people's money, like Americans' money, that they shouldn't have that money that they worked for. That they shouldn't have that. It's like, this is the thing. We have a capitalist society and people are promoting communism, but we're a capitalist society. We have a capitalist constitution. So like, what kind of society do you want to create? And I'm glad we can have discussion because it's so important today. Are we capitalists or you want communism? And this is the thing. Let's get back to how our souls plan our lives. Our souls.
I know the whole capitalist communist argument real well. I used to be a libertarian, so I know that whole argument real well. And I've come to learn just how misguided my argument was when I had that belief system. Because my argument was literally based on the idea that there's not enough to go around, so we have to figure out how to divide it up fairly. What's the fair way to do it? Is it based on what you've earned? Is it based on whether or not you're part of the right group? We have all these different rules that we set up, and we do that because we believe in the scarcity. The truth is, we live in an abundant universe. The entire universe is full of abundance. So the
Right.
whole question of whether or not to divide up who gets what, how do we decide, and all that is all based on the idea that we're not abundant.
Right. But here's the thing, as a whole world, we aren't there yet. People haven't accepted, like we talked earlier, that souls have different, paths, and certain souls are going to go much higher than other souls based on what their soul needs in that lifetime. Well, certain souls need a lot of money to see themselves, and certain souls need no money to see themselves. So by saying that making this argument, we got to take care of ourselves and our kids, is me having a scarcity mindset. No, it's like, this is where we're at now. My family, my children, my grandchildren, because I'm a mother, right? My grandchildren have a shit school system to go into. So I'm going to do something about it, because that's my family. And the love hierarchy is self-love, partner love, child love, family love, community love. And you could put other country love after community love. And we're going straight to other country love before we do all this love at home. And that's why we have so many mental health challenges,
Well,
because
I
we're not
certainly agree
filling up our
that
own
you
cup
can't
of
put
love.
one ahead of the other. I agree you can't put one ahead of the other. That is true. But I don't think that also means that you have to bury the other one. There's a balance that has to go on there.
But how, if you don't fill up your own cup of love at the top, and you're at the top, what do you mean by balance for the illegal immigrants? I don't understand. If we as an American are like a one family, that's what I'm kind of looking at it. America's a family. We have, the children are, being abused at home. Women are on like, mental health medications higher than any time in history. We have tons of mental illness, tons of problems at home. So why is it a good idea to take on more problems from people in other countries? Like, why? How do we have energy and money for that and time for that when we can't do it at our house?
You don't have to keep other people out of the country in order to take care of your own problems.
But look at all the problems that are caused by those people being in the country. They have health issues. They want their children
that's blaming
educated.
somebody else for your problems.
No, but
that's that mirroring thing that you were talking about.
How is that? I don't understand. If we can't take care of our own, how do we have energy and money for other people's problems?
I don't buy the idea that we can't take care of our own.
Then why aren't we?
That's a great question, but it doesn't mean that we can't.
Well, we can if we get our shit straight. But this is the thing.
Getting our shit straight has nothing to do with immigrants.
It totally does have to do. This is the thing. How can let's say
that's blaming the immigrants.
Can I run a healthy household when I got 10 immigrants with my kids in and out, and they're doing, and I don't know, and they're in my house, and I have no rules around them, and then they want me to spend money, like pay money for their insurance and their medical care and their food and their schooling. I mean, that's really what's happened. Let's put 10 immigrants in my house with my 3 kids, and now I should take care of everybody because I make $100,000 a year? Is that what you're telling me?
I think you very nicely described the difficulty of the viewpoint that says we need to have a separation from immigrants. I think you've described that very nicely. And I don't think we're actually going to resolve the conversation here. But this has been fascinating. It's been very interesting.
I appreciate that you're open to talking, and it's just, this is my viewpoint and that's your viewpoint, and we're watching the same movie and that's totally valid.
Yeah.
It's totally valid.
One of my favorite things of doing this show, I've said this many times over the years, is I love talking to people about their perspective. That's why I love doing these interviews. I learn more from the people I disagree with. Yeah. And so that's always fascinating to me. Yeah. And it continues to fascinate me to this day. So I appreciate all this. I appreciate the conversation. It doesn't really matter whether we're disagreeing. What matters is this is really fun. It's fascinating. It's really good.
I mean, like, I don't agree with the red pill men, and I learned a ton from them. I mean, a ton I have learned from those men. But I agree with a lot of their stuff, but then there's stuff that I don't agree with the multiple women. But doesn't mean I didn't learn. I mean, I learned about myself. Like, I needed the multiple women to see myself. Like, thank you for the multiple women. That's why I call them my heroes, and I'm grateful, because if they weren't out there with the multiple women, I couldn't see that I had that wound, And it's like, if we want to eradicate like sexual assault and sexual abuse and fear of men, then we have to address the wounds. So as long as that wound is in men and that wound is in women, then it's going to be there. But, Andrew Tate triggers that wound. So if Andrew Tate triggers you, you probably have a fear of men wound, whether you're a man or a woman, or a fear of being sexually assaulted wound. And my book will, will help you heal that. We'll teach you how to heal it in with all the wisdom that I learned along the way.
And remind us what the name of the book is again.
My Inner Heroine: Exploring Feminine Pain. It's on Amazon and in Barnes and Noble and bookstores.
And do you like having listeners and so forth reach out to you? And
yeah, they want to reach out. Yeah, I have a website at kerryblaser.com, KerryBlaser.com. I'm also on Instagram at Kerry Blaser, YouTube Kerry Blaser, and I'm also on Instagram Red Pill Shaman because the red pill space.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fascinating. No doubt about this. Thank you so much for joining me today. One thing I do want to share with you, and I make this a practice to share with all of my guests, and this is a particularly interesting situation to apply it to, but I think it's as true here as anywhere. One of the things that have come out of the fact that we're now in the 21st century, I mean, 30 years ago, we couldn't do this. This was not a possible conversation. There was no way to do an internet conversation where I can see you, you can see me. We could probably do a phone call and that was about it. And it'd probably be too expensive to record anyway, so it wouldn't be worth it. Today we could do stuff like this and it's cool. I mean, that's one of the wonderful things about the era that we live in. One of the things that has come along with that is because of how the whole thing has changed, we now have different ways of marketing ourselves, marketing our products and services and so forth, including coming on the podcasts, going into social media, doing all the online stuff. And in the course of doing all of that, we've lost track of a very important thing. We've lost track of the fact that, well, we give a lot of information away for free because we want to help people with it. And we're helping people very often in ways that we never know about. And they're benefiting and we don't get the credit for it. And I say, well, wait a minute, hold on. So Kerry, on behalf of those people you've been helping in ways you didn't know about, people you've never met, never seen, never will meet, never will see, on their behalf, the people you've been helping, thank you for what you're doing for them because you're making a difference in this world.
And I really appreciate that because I've never been paid. None of those men talk to me. And it's probably a not yet. It's just we're not there yet because they have their own stuff, And I put them in a lineup with Andrew Tate, which, I don't need to explain. That explains itself. So, so I'm here trying to sell my book, working on developing a film adaptation. I just got a PR guy today, which I'm really happy about. I'm super excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so he's like, I'm taking you global. I'm like, awesome. Let's go. I met him on a podcast. And
very
so,
good.
I'm just trying to share my wisdom and help, women become healthier in their feminine hearts. And femininity fuels masculinity. And because women are source energy, so the energy starts with us. When I submit to a man, side chick, he's going to say side chick, yes or no. If I submit to a man, girlfriend, then he's girlfriend, yes or no. But if I bring the energy of wife, open my heart, close my legs, then he's wife, yes or no. And women need to learn that that's their job, to submit the right energy to get the result that they're actually after.
All right. Well, thank you, Kerry. Appreciate you spending the time with us today. And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.